So let me ask you this question. Because here's what I know to be true. Every decision that you and I make have what? Anyone? Bueller. Anyone? Voodoo. Okay, you got to be a certain age to understand what movie I just referenced. Every decision, all decisions, big, small, bad, good, every decision that you and I make has this lifelong impact. Yes, they have consequences too, but they also have lifelong impact. All of the decisions that we make have lifelong impact. Can anybody relate to that statement today? I mean, even the small ones, the small decisions we make, they eventually add up. Some serious, some not so serious. But every decision that you and I make add up. They will all have lifelong impact. Let me dig into this a little bit. Has anyone ever gone through and endured junior high school? Some of you are in it right now. And if you've endured or gone through junior high school, you understand what I'm talking about, and you know about insecurities, right? Insecurities. Junior high and high school, those were some tough years for me, as probably you have experienced. I didn't get a grip on this whole social and academic aspect of it. And I barely had a grip on my relationship with Jesus. And I had no idea. I didn't even know who I was in junior high. And even more so, I didn't know who God created me to be or who he wanted me to be. You might even say that it was one big awkward blur, wasn't it for you? Awkward blur. My insecurities were running rampant. And I felt like and here's one of the biggest issues, and if you're in junior high, you probably know this. Trying to fit in, just socially fit in. And what I realized was, and I always wrestled with, that I never really fit in with any particular group. I was a skater. I was into rap music. I tried the athletic crowd. I was all over the place looking to fit in somewhere. And on top of that, I was a transfer student in high school. I went to Glenbrook Intermediate. That's what we called it at the time. Now it's like middle school. That's what you guys call it. And then I because of music, because I was a band geek, I transferred to College Park because they had a better music program. So here I was, I was out of my comfort zone. All of my friends I grew up with at Glenbrook and Sun Terrace, they all went to Mount Diablo. Well, I transferred to College Park in Pleasant Hill. I mean, picture this like great equation. I mean, this amazing equation. Acne. Plus braces. I'm talking the old school kind. Not what you guys get now. That's a blessing. Headgear. Anybody? Anybody? Just me? Yeah. Plus hard to manage hair. I know you don't believe it at this moment, but I actually, a number of months ago, I showed picture proof of my thick, black, curly, unmanageable hair. All of which equals what? Super awesome. And as a result, I made some decisions during that time trying to fit in and filtering life through my own insecurities, which I'm pretty confident that you may have done that once or twice. That would truly affect my future and, of course, affect the rest of my life. But the thing is that I didn't know at the time, I really didn't look at it that way. Because what do we do when we're in junior high school? When we're in our 20s, we only think 10 minutes in front of our face, right? I thought I was going with the flow. I thought I was doing what everybody else wanted me to do. I thought I was fitting in. But all the while, here's the deal. I never stopped feeling like I was looking in from the outside. I never stopped feeling like I was looking in from the outside. In fact, let me share. I already got a little TMI going with the acne and the braces, but let me show you, I got a story for you that illustrates this perfectly. And yes, it's from my own life because it's better that I talk about myself than some of you, right? Some of you may already know this, but prior to being lead pastor here at Creekside Church, I was a worship pastor and a worship leader for about 15 plus years. 10 of those years I spent here as the worship and youth pastor. Knowing that, would you believe for the first 20 years of my life, I did not sing. That's why I got into a rap group. But I didn't sing. I was terrified of singing. Well, I take that back. I sang once during my junior high and high school year, and it's probably one of the most horrendous and most embarrassing moments of my life. Walk with me here for a second. My 7th grade teacher, Mrs. Vax, because I remember I was a band geek. I played tenor saxophone from 2nd grade all the way through high school. She said, hey, there's a music camp coming up. You want to go? Summer music camp at the University of Pacific. And I said yes, and my mom was able to make it happen, and I got to go to a music summer camp at UOP. And here's what happened at this camp. At the very beginning, I didn't know anybody. It was me and my best friend. He was also a sax player. We went, and we didn't know anybody. I mean, because these were people from all over the state that would come here. And the very first thing they did, I think you got in the afternoon, and the very next morning, they wanted to place everybody in the choir because you not only had to be in the band, but you had to do choir as well. So the teacher made us get up and sing solos in front of the entire camp. Good news is I'm going to make some of you do that today. I'm just kidding. And here's the song we sang. It was a song I've never heard of, and I still don't know the words to it today because I tried to erase that memory from my mind's eye. We sang an old school song called Me and My Shadow. Some of you are over 60 and you know that song. No, I'm just kidding. And while not only did we have to sing it, but we're up on this big stage at UOP, some judgy dude sitting at the piano, like playing this over and over again for 30 plus students. And Me and My Shadow, 30 plus kids, 30 plus renditions of the same tune. The grading was pretty simple. You got up there, you sang loud, you passed. If you got up there and you kind of, sang soft, then you had to go work with the choir director. If you refused to sing, guess what? You failed. So what do you think I did? Now, I'm going to give you a little bit more context. Up until this point in my life, and to give you more insight, why was it so horrible for me? Because I'm already in this awkward stage. Remember, acne, braces, hard to manage hair, not really knowing where I belong, trying to fit in, tremendous insecurities. I had long ago, early on, made the strategic decision that I was not a singer and that I was not going to sing. And being self-conscious about that, here's the deal. That has held me back my entire life. It wasn't that I didn't want to sing. I mean, I really did. It doesn't mean I didn't really want to make a joyful noise unto the Lord. I I just didn't want to make a joyful noise to the guy in front of me or to next to me. Listen, even in church, growing up in church, every Sunday, what did I do? I stared at the screen like it was my duty. And I would stare at the screen while thinking about the McDonald's meal I was going to get that my grandmother was going to buy me for coming along with her to church. You see what she did there? And I would gaze at the screen, mouthing the words. And if my grandma gave me a gaze or shot me a look, as I just stood there while everybody else belted out these tunes, I just lip synced. And because listen, it wasn't because I didn't really want to. I really did. I was just super insecure. And I felt like I couldn't. Meanwhile, back at music camp, because you're all wondering what happened to me standing at the piano with this judgy guy. So there I stood at the piano, about to cry like a little baby, looking at all of these faces. And I sang what was probably the most mid me and my shadow that I could possibly. Shayla, what's mid mean?
It's like
mediocre. Yeah, mediocre. I just want to consult, make sure I got that right. Helping you out. So I stood there at the beginning. Me and my shadow walking along the avenue. It's pretty much like that. I don't even know the rest of the song. I took whatever I got at that moment and I sat down to what? The laughter of every other student in that room. The laughter. That brief experience was good enough, as it probably would have been for you, to keep me songless for the next number of years of my life. Never wanted to sing again. Never wanted, matter of fact, to this day, my wife, she's like a songbird, and I rarely, if ever sing at home. Even when she says, hey, we got to work out this worship song. So I give my grandma a guitar, and she's like, so let's figure out what key. I won't sing. I don't know what it's the insecurity that has plagued me my whole life. It wasn't until I moved on from school that I felt I had the opportunity to kind of start over. Have you ever found yourself in a place like that? Like, yeah, no one really knows me here. I ended up in an environment where it was kind of fresh and new, and nobody really knew my past. They knew me, but they really didn't know my past. And here's the deal. I've kind of developed my relationship with Jesus by this time, and I kind of started eking out some worship songs and singing like a normal person because no one really around me knew any different. And to my surprise, what did I discover when I dared to sing out? That I can actually sing a little bit. That my voice really wasn't that bad. In fact, I can carry a tune without a bucket. Remember, because it's that cliche, you can't even carry a tune in a bucket, which I don't know where that came from. Probably the same place where my grandmother got that's the way the old pickle squirts. And she has another one. I'm going to slap the Dickens out of you. I don't know who Dickens is. And my grandma and at one Thanksgiving, we had like a 45-minute conversation. Grandma, what is the Dickens? Anyway. Here's what's even more amazing. When I decided and I dared to sing out, I experienced a worship, something that opened me up to, something about God that I've never experienced before. Songs moved me like never before. And you know what I'm talking about, because we'll all have those songs in our life that puts us back at a place or makes us feel a certain way, don't we? I'm all out of love. I'm so lost without you. You laugh, but AM Gold, you turn that on. That's not one of mine. I felt something like I never felt before. I felt something in church. I experienced this joy that I never felt. But my insecurities didn't matter to me in praising God or serving God. I opened myself up to the idea of going, there's something more than this. Whether it's in youth group or leading small groups or helping out with sound or being on the worship team or being on media or guest services. And here's the deal. One of the biggest regrets in my life. Does anybody else have one of those? Am I just preaching to myself today? Are there actually people in this room watching online that has zero regrets in life? One of the biggest regrets in my life that I still am not completely over yet is the fact that I missed out on singing all of those years of my life. And it's not just that, it's this. I missed out and God missed out. I missed out and God missed out. I sat in church and I even paid attention sometimes. But I treated the whole experience like it was a spectator sport. A spectator sport. I robbed God of my sacrifice of praise, and I robbed myself of an intimate experience with him. Have you ever felt that way? Have you missed out on something in your life, something that you knew that if you were to do it, if you dared to move, it might change your life forever? Have you ever felt that way? But you were afraid. You were afraid to move. Your insecurities overwhelmed you. I'm wondering if some of us here are doing just what I did. You know, we may have gotten involved and maybe we even sing at other places. But oh no, I don't sing at church, which is funny because I recently went to a worship concert, which to me is kind of stupid, but it's just my own thing. You're charging X amount of dollars to go see these two worship leaders so everybody can worship with 5, or 15,000 people, but yet we don't sing in church. And we're not paying for a ticket. Or maybe for the teenagers, I'm always amazed out of, 25 plus years of going to youth camp, how every single student, they could be a student that shows up to church and looks like they hate being here. Not you, Shayla. I'm pointing to the imaginary junior higher next to you or high schooler. Hate being here. I'm only here because my parents are making me. But when they get up on that mountain at camp, they're singing their guts out like never before. And then they come back to church and what do? They go right back to sitting there. I don't know why we do that. I don't know why some dude can come to church and say, you know what? Hey, PG, I'm just not an expressive person. I'm not comfortable. Oh yeah, come on, God. Yeah, God, I worship God. But then I go, but dude, I watched you watch the 49ers. Sitting on, just me and you watching in my living room, and you're screaming and hoop and holler, jumping up and dancing when they scored a touchdown. But I get it, you're not an expressive person. You're not real demonstrative. I mean, these are things that we got to figure out. Because maybe we're missing out on something. Now, you may say things like, listen, I get it. I'm too busy. I'm so consumed with what's going on at work and what I got to go in and what I got to prep for and what I got to do and all of this stuff. Or maybe, to step out of my comfort zone is too hard or it's too difficult, too scary, or life is just too overwhelming right now. I got 3 kids and every one of them is 3 sports that I got to take them to 3 times a day. I mean, you got your job, right? You got your kids, your mortgages to think of, and you're too consumed, if you're below a certain age and you're into this kind of thing, you're too consumed with your streak on Snapchat to be thinking about all of these other less important things. Blame it on whatever you want and whatever the reason, but whatever the reason is, I bet there's a lot of us who are reluctant to move, reluctant to actually do something. But here's the deal, if you dare to try, I promise you, you might even gain a whole new perspective on life. You could experience feeling valued, because that's something we all want. You can experience, belonging, because that's really what I wanted all through my academic career. I wanted to fit in. And I know there's a lot of people here, you're just wanting to fit in. You know how many people come to me and say, hey, we're going to find a church that, where we can fit in a little more. And then I have to ask the question, are you making an effort to connect with other people? Or are you waiting for them to connect with you? We all just want to feel valued, like we belong. I mean, as followers of Jesus, we're commanded to use the gifts that God's given us. And here's the deal. When you do that, you just might change a life or two. Someone else's, but you will definitely change yours. Sometimes we just have to be daring to make a move. It's like this. I got this envelope here. Now, you don't know what's in this envelope. I do, because I put it in there. But I will tell you that there's tremendous potential in this envelope. I don't know to what extent, but for some it may be a little bit of potential. For others it may be a tremendous amount of potential. But if I was to ask you who wanted this envelope, who would say, I want this envelope? Look, half of you are going, well, I'm a little insecure. I'm not going to raise my hand because I don't know what he's doing. What's he going to make me do? I'm a little insecure. I just showed up because I want to make sure I fit in today. But if I said, who wants this envelope? Who really wants this envelope? No, I mean, who really wants it? See, listen, I know, man, you know what? I kind of do want that. Hey, PG, I want it. Bring it to me, PG. That's how we normally think. Right? Hey, I really want the envelope. Bring it to me. If I raise my hand aggressively enough, are you gonna bring it to me? What's in it? See, here's the deal, and Dorsey proved this point exactly. So did Aaron, and so did Tony. You guys were just slow. Let me expound on this illustration. You got those who just sit there and don't raise their hand in church. You got those who raise their hand. Then you got those who aggressively raise their hand. Then you got those who kind of get up and go, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this a? And then you got those who are going, well, I'm just going to go get it. And, hey, I'm not going to look a fool doing it in case it's embarrassing. But then you got people like Dorsey. Who will mow you over for a $5 Jamba Juice card. No, I'm just kidding. But this is how we treat the God-given potential in our life. This is what happens. And I'm here to tell you, anybody willing to hear, you can't sit back and allow your external circumstances to influence your decisions, the choices that you make. I want to look at a story that illustrates this. It's something from Mark that I think illustrates this perfectly. If you have your Bibles, turn to Mark chapter 5, verse 24. If you don't have your Bibles, you can look at the big Bible in the sky. It says, a woman in the crowd had suffered for 12 years. How many years? 12. That's a long time, with constant bleeding. She had suffered a great deal from many doctors, and over the years she had spent everything she had to pay for these doctors. Everything. But here's the deal, she didn't get any better. In fact, she had gotten worse. She heard about Jesus. She had heard about Jesus. She didn't see him yet. She what? Heard about Jesus. So she came up behind him through the crowd and touched his robe. For she thought to herself, if I could just touch his robe, if I could just get my hand on the hem of his robe, I will be healed. And immediately, as soon as she touched his robe, the bleeding stopped. And she could feel in her body that she had been healed of her terrible condition. Now, Jesus realized at once that healing power had gone out from him. So he turned around in the crowd. So she was in a crowd, right? Turned around. Who touched my robe? And the disciples said to him, look at this crowd, dude. Well, they probably didn't refer to our Lord as dude, but look at this crowd pressing around you. Pressing, that means that shoulder to shoulder, you can't move left or right. There's no way to move, which kind of shows you that she really had to press through a crowd. How can you ask, who touched me? But he kept on looking around to see who had done it. And then the frightened woman, trembling at the realization of what just happened to her, came and fell to her knees in front of him and told him what she had done. And she said to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. Your suffering is over. Your faith. I think about this story and I realize I waited for years. Yeah, not singing. Someone say, oh, that's not as bad as bleeding for 12 years. I get it and I understand it. But I think the principle's the same, because insecurities can feel just as bad as a disease in some of our lives. 12 years. I waited 12 years to step out, to do something that in hindsight, if I was to look back at it, God was asking me to be what? Just be willing to do it. Just be willing to do it. And until I got desperate for healing from my insecurities, you know what I was? I was sick of being stuck. And it's taught me a valuable lifelong lesson, maybe a philosophy. When an open door of opportunity presents itself, I need to walk through it. I need to move. Now, I'm not here to say that every attempt and every risk and every step of faith is going to work out according to the way you thought or think it should. They all didn't work out for me, because I still dealt with a number of disappointments in my life. And I still do. I've tried some things that have totally failed. Totally failed. And sometimes I think, seriously, God, what do you even know me? What more do you want from me? I bet you as well have been through a lot in your life, or you're going through a lot in your life. You may have had some bad breaks in your life. You may have had some truly terrible things happen in your life. You may be sitting here still at 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, feeling like you're out of place, like you don't fit in. You might feel like you want to try something new, but you feel like you're unqualified or you're not good enough or you don't know enough. You feel like you're ill-equipped. But here's the good news. I just said it a moment ago. Jesus just wants us, Jesus just wants you to be willing. To be willing. Now keep in mind, we have an enemy of our soul. We have an enemy, Satan, who is always fighting. And he fights hardest, you got to understand this, when he knows God has something great in store for you. I mean, this is where some of the daring comes in. Dare to fight through it. Dare to fight through it and do what God wants you to do. You may have been through some crappy stuff. Forgive my language. But our God loves you so much, he gives you exactly what you need to accomplish his plan, his assignment that he's given you for your life. Loves you too much. And if you're willing to move with faith and trust, they go hand in hand. Faith and trust in God, I promise you, you will experience life like you've never experienced before. Not just life in general, but life in this community of faith called Creekside Church. Life in your home. Life in a lot of different areas, work, school. I mean, we just read in Mark 5 how this woman had been sick for 12 years and the doctors gave her no hope. No hope. You can imagine how depressed and discouraged she must have felt. Spent her life savings on doctors who gave her no hope. But one day she heard that Jesus was coming through. Heard that Jesus was coming through her town. And what happened? Something deep within her, something deep on the inside said to her, listen, it's time. It's time. It's time. Your opportunity is right now. It's time to get well. It's time to be free. And when she saw all of the people around her, she thought, oh, it's so crowded. So crowded. I'll never make it to them. I mean, I'm already weak. I've been bleeding for 12 years. I have no strength. I have no energy. I don't feel good. I have too much to do. I have a job to worry about, a mortgage to worry about. I have kids that have a crazy schedule. My car doesn't work. I'm too busy. I'm not good enough. I don't know enough. 12 years. You can imagine her, this is horrible. I just don't think I can do this. And the excuses started to jump off in her mind like a box of frogs in every direction. The excuses. But what did she do? Instead of dwelling on these real problems, she got her mind going in the right direction. What did she do? She chose differently. She started, what did she do? Yeah. I mean, she started she got her mind, and she like, excuse me, listen, excuse me, but this is my time. I got to get to Jesus, and I got to do what I need to do. You better part the ways because I'm coming through because I need to get to the one who holds my healing. So I need to get through here, excuse me. Because I am that desperate that I'm going to push through crowds and I'm going to do what I need to do to get to the person that I need to get to. Because that's how desperate I am. She wasn't waiting for, waiting. Can you kind of lead me to that way? Can you guys part so I can get, no, she's pushing her way through. It was shoulder to shoulder. She goes, excuse me, but this is time. This is my healing time. Sorry, Joe, I'm not going to do that to you. I'm not going to miss this. She didn't sit back and wait for Jesus to come to her. That's what we tend to do, don't we? I'll start serving when Jesus gives me what I want. I'll go to church when he proves himself to me. I think the fact that there is a church that you go to is proof that there is a God. What are we waiting for? We all need to be healed of something in some way, but yet we continue to sit back. Sit back. I don't know who needs to hear this, but God first loved us. He already made the move. He's waiting for us to respond. When she got through the crowd, instantly she was made whole. Jesus said to her in Mark 5:34, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace, your suffering is gone. Did you notice that her faith activated his power? Her faith activated his power. It's so easy to sit back and think, I missed all kinds of opportunity. It's too late for me. But what we have to do is we have to shake off that defeated mindset and dare to believe, dare to stand up, dare to walk over chairs and possibly kneeing someone in the face, which I appreciate you guys. Dare to believe. It's time. This is a season for me to be free. You never really know how God's going to shape your future, but you never know where God's going to take you, where you'll go, or what you'll become. But here's the deal. That's not yours to worry about. It's not. That's up to God. Our job is to focus on God and simply be obedient to what steps he tells us to take next. Obedient. That's what he's asking us to do. If God says jump, you can't wander around for a week looking for a bridge that you like. Because he will tell you to do what he wants you to do at the right moment you need to do it. You got to jump, and you got to trust that he's going to provide a soft landing, a pair of wings or a parachute or whatever. It's the same with opportunities to use your gifts that God has given you. It's a gift that God has given you, your talents, your time. He's already given you what you need. Don't waste the gifts or the opportunity. Don't let insecurity or self-doubt or lack of confidence or whatever it may be keep you from experiencing God in a way you've never experienced before. Here's a freebie. How many of you guys buy bananas? And I don't care who you are. My wife will have bananas, and they will get blacker than black. Throw it away. No. Why? I'm going to make banana bread. How could good banana bread come out of that horrible thing? You got that? Or she'll put it in the freezer. Anybody got frozen, rotting bananas in the freezer? Okay. Here's the deal. Now that we got the visual of bananas, don't wait until you feel your gifts are fully developed before you put them to use. It won't happen. Why? Because gifts are like a bunch of bananas on a dark counter space. Gifts hidden away and unused don't ripen, they rot. Many of you are going to walk away with just that. I don't want to be a rotting banana. Even if you're given a chance to give yourself away, push through your insecurities, inhibitions, selfish desires. Push through them. Push through your pride. Push through your control issues. Push through and move anyway. Because gifts hidden and unused don't ripen, they rot. Humble yourself in faith at the feet of Jesus and know that his grace will carry you through. He's already equipped you. He's given you exactly what you need. You get the opportunity to discover all that he's created for you. Romans 12:3-8. Because of the privilege and the authority God has given me. This is the Apostle Paul speaking. I give each of you this warning. Don't think you are better than you really are. Be honest in your evaluation of yourself. Measuring yourselves by the faith God has given us, not by someone else's 30-second highlight reel on Instagram. Just as our bodies have many parts and each part has a special function, so it is with Christ's body. And this is why I love one of these, because we are together. We're better together as one body. The only reason we have two services is because as we can continue to grow, we're not going to have enough seats for everybody. We are many parts in one body, and we all belong to each other. In his grace, God has given us different gifts for doing certain things well. Because in God's kingdom, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing well. So if God has given you the ability to prophesy, speak out with as much faith as God has given you. If your gift is serving others, serve them well. If you are a teacher, then teach well. If your gift is to encourage others, be encouraging. If it is giving, then give generously. If God has given you leadership ability, take that responsibility seriously. And if you have a gift for showing kindness to others, do it gladly. Kindness. Imagine what Creekside Church, imagine what this city, the surrounding communities would look like if every person dared to put others above themselves. And actually, instead of sitting there, who wants to serve? I guess I will, if no one else is going to do it. Maybe it's aggressively getting out of your chair and running to the first opportunity to put someone else above yourself. And what happens when we do that? We get to experience things that we've never experienced before. Imagine what Creekside Church, this community, would look like. Imagine what CYC 180, our youth group, would look like. Well, imagine, Shayla, what your school would look like if we just did this. Imagine what your workplace would look like if we just did this, did what the Apostle Paul is asking us to do, that you've been equipped to do. Listen, you may not know how to do whatever it is. But like I said last week, you don't have to understand the plan to know God has a purpose. We may not know how to do whatever it is we need to do perfectly. But what would it look like if we were just perfectly willing? What would it look like if we were just perfectly willing? Don't miss your opportunity, or you just might miss your God-given potential. Nobody wants to be a rotting black banana sitting in a freezer, hoping one day to become banana bread. I'm going to invite you to stand with me this morning, if you're able, as the worship team makes their way up. Let me ask you this question as they get up here. Are you feeling like you're looking in from the outside? I'm not talking about maybe just insecurity, but maybe you've been coming here for a little bit and you're like, I just don't feel like I'm part of this church. I feel like I'm not connecting. Maybe you feel like you haven't quite connected anywhere. Maybe you're sitting here and you go, I really want to experience God in a real way, in a real way. Maybe you've really experienced God in a real intimate way in some time in the past, but lately you've been feeling like you're kind of disconnected. Maybe you felt or you're feeling the presence of God in a real way right now. And my question is, what are you going to do with it? What's going to be the result of it? Some of us are here today watching online asking God to do something significant that will require a leap of faith in our life. Again, looking back over the course of my life, I know this to be true. If I really wanted to experience anything amazing, awesome, cool, or extraordinary in my life, it only came when I, in faith, took extraordinary steps that I've never taken before. For some, the next step for you is simply getting involved in something. Maybe God is leading you to take a step of faith and get involved in some area of maybe serving or singing on the worship team, playing guitar, playing bass or drums. Maybe for some it's like, you know what? It's going to be a faith leap for me to go and hold babies. I get it. But I promise you'll experience something from God that you've never experienced before. Maybe for some of you, you've been on this fence and wrestling with control of, what is giving? What is this tithe? Why do I gotta, Just be glad I'm not flipping around some iPad saying, did you enjoy the message today? I just got a question for you. But maybe God's asking you to take a risk and step out and begin to give, not because someone's making you to, but because God's leading you to, because it's a discipline of this relationship with God, of our relationship with Christ. I don't know who it's for. Maybe if you're a student, you got to take a big risk of going, you know what? I know I have sports every night of the week. And then, I got video games I got to play. Maybe the risk for you is I'm going to commit to being at CYC on Wednesday night. And I'm going to make it a priority. And I will be there every week. I don't know what it is for you. For some of us, it could just be taking that first step of faith and asking Jesus to be in charge of your life. In charge of your life from here on out. If that's you, I want you to know that it's a very simple process. It's a very simple beginning to a relationship that will change you forever from this moment on. You surrender your life and put your heart and your faith and your trust in Jesus, knowing what the Apostle Paul said in Romans 10:9. If you openly declare that Jesus is your Lord, and you believe that in your heart, that God raised him from the dead, it says you will be saved. It's simple. We overcomplicate it, but it's simple. Seriously, that's it. If you do in fact decide to follow Jesus right now this morning, I want to encourage you to go get a yes packet. We're going to close with worship. But here's the thing. I don't want any of us to miss our opportunity. I don't want any of us to have regrets a year, 5, 10 years from now. I don't want anyone to miss an opportunity from God. And just remind everyone, Jesus says, just be willing. I don't know if you were here earlier, but there was a song playing throughout the beginning time of our service. It was a song by Switchfoot called Dare You to Move. Dare You to Move. I'm going to read a couple of lines from this. We're going to worship, and then you're going to hear the song again. And then we're going to go out in the back, and we're going to eat hot dogs and Polish dogs that you'll be tasting 4 hours from now. Okay. It says this, welcome to the fallout. Welcome to resistance. The tension is here between who you are and who you could be, between how it is and how it should be. I dare you to move. I dare you to move. Let's